Let's get ready to rumble. Hey guys, welcome to my review for Kengan Ashura. This is a martial arts manga that was serialized in Ura Sunday Comics from 2012 to 2018. It was written by the Chad himself, Sandrovich Yabako, with art provided by Daromian. I probably never would have checked out this series if it weren't for like the obsessive nagging from Trevor here. He really wanted me to read this. And I finally caved after a few months. I was like, okay, fine, fuck you. So here we are today to discuss it, and we'll find out what I thought of it. Kengan Ashura takes place in a world where whenever these giant, like, corporations want to make business deals with each other, they settle it with a Kengan fight. These are mixed martial arts battles that involve each company choosing a fighter to represent them. Both the fighters fight. Whoever wins whatever deal they were trying to make. A lot of companies can put a lot on the line when it comes to Kengan matches, so a lot of times, the stakes are quite high. Especially because these matches are not particularly legal. They happen in, the underground of society. Normal people don't know they exist, and a lot of the people involved can be very, very shady. There's pretty much no rules as to what you can do in these fights. The only real requirement is that you have to use your body. You can't use any weapons or outside forces. Serious injury and death is quite a possible and common occurrence. So the story picks up with our man Kazuo Yamashita. He is an ordinary salaryman. He's 56 years old and he works for the Nogi group. Now one day he's strolling on home and he runs into to this friendly fellow, Tokita Oma, and he witnesses this Oma guy doing what he does best, beating the absolute shit out of people. And he's like, hey man, that's kind of crazy. Please leave me alone. I'm just here. I'm just going about my day. And they part ways and he doesn't think anything of it until, well, the next day he gets called in for a meeting with the CEO of the Nogi group. He's like, what the fuck? What the fuck does the CEO want with me? I can't handle this. He meets with the CEO. And this is when, to his surprise, he discovers that the Nogi group has actually hired Oma, the man he saw fighting last night, to represent them in the Kengan matches. And Mr. Nogi wants Kazuo to be his manager. And Kazuo's like, excuse me, what the fuck? So Kazuo becomes Oma's manager. They go around, they have some crazy fights. We get to see Oma show off his skills. So what's the point of all this? What's going on? Well, all these Kengan matches are run by the chairman of the Kengan Association, this crusty-ass boomer. He's like 100 years old, so he's retiring soon, and they need to pick a new chairman, so, what better way to do that than have this massive tournament, the Kengan Annihilation Tournament, where all of these companies will, of course, choose their representing fighter, and the last man standing will be able to nominate the new chairman, a position of extreme power and wealth that a lot of people want. One of them, of course, being Mr. Nogi, and his plan is to enter Oma into the tournament because he sees potential in Oma who could possibly win. He's got a few tricks up his sleeve though. He doesn't actually enter Oma under his company, he enters someone else. He makes Kazuo start his own company to become the CEO of his own company to enter Oma. So, he basically has multiple chances of winning. Yeah, there's a lot of shady shit that goes on in these Kengan tournaments with all these companies and CEOs fighting for power. Kazuo's like, man, fuck it. You're dragging me through all this shit. Whatever. Might as well. Oma just wants to punch people, so he's cool with it. And then you get 200 chapters of tournament. That's what this manga is. Now, like the first 40 or 50 chapters or so are pretty much the setup. We get to see, Oma and Kazuo's relationship build, and we get, like a glimpse of the, underground Kengan battle, see how this world works, and that's all fine and good. It was a pretty interesting start. I think the concept of, having all these companies, have their fighters and they, just brawl it out to see who wins business deals and whatever the fuck they're doing. I think that concept is really, really cool, and seeing these fights play out in such a brutal setting was also pretty interesting to see. But the real meat of this series really is in the tournament. It takes up most of the entire thing.
32
fighters enter, and you're going to watch every single match that every single one of them fight. There are no breaks, no downtime. It is non-stop, battle after battle after battle. And it's pretty fucking awesome, not gonna lie. This series has such a breakneck pace. It's so energetic, it's so fun and easy to follow. The first round of the tournament is really mostly to set up a lot of the characters that we're going to be seeing a lot more of. So they'll be introduced, we'll get their backstory, and then we see this like insane fight play out. And when I say insane, I truly mean it. This is not a fantasy or science fiction series, but the abilities on display here are kind of fucking wild. But what I really, really like about Kengan Ashura is that all of these people, while, the stuff they do may be pretty impossible, they always try to justify it with like real world science. For example, there's a character who fights with his hair. It's really wild and pretty stupid, but they're like, hey, why not? You know, people have been able to pull trucks with their hair in real life before. Why can't you fight with hair? And I'm like, you know what? That's actually an awesome point. And yeah. There's a match early on where Oma fights someone who decides to cheat. Someone in the audience has this sound playing, this extremely high-pitched sound, and because everyone there is a boomer and Oma is the only young one, he's the only one who can hear the high-pitched sound, and it distracts him. That shit is so cool. Like as wild and over the top and impossible as a lot of it is, I really, really love how they explain and go about these characters having, you know, seemingly supernatural abilities. And seeing how these characters, you know, match up against each other in this tournament it's so engaging and so much fun, because you never really know going into a match who's going to win. Even when like the most important of the characters are fighting, the people you know the most, you still really can't tell if they're going to move on to the next round or not. And there's also always the risk that someone you know might die or might get like severely injured. If someone wins but they're severely injured, what are they going to do in the next round? There's a lot of great speculation to be had. I was always anticipating the next match. And as we get into the later rounds, we've grown very attached to these characters and things are getting really crazy and we're like, who the fuck's going to win? They're all like super injured. How are these powers going to match up with each other? Really, really cool stuff. Now, but like most tournament arcs in manga, it's not just the fighting. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, a lot of, as you would expect, shady shit, where these companies will, you know, go to some extreme means to make sure that they win. There's going to be some breaks in the action, some crazy twists going on. And while I was really excited for this aspect of the series when it started, I'm gonna be honest, it never really ended up being as interesting as the actual fights. You know, there are a few detours the story takes to, you know, deal with this other crazy thing going on. But whenever it would happen, I was kind of like, yeah, I just really want to see the next round. I don't particularly care about this as much as I wanted to. But once they got back on track, once we got back to the back-to-back like insane matches, I was just loving it. It was a super fun ride, and I really enjoyed the ending. I thought it wrapped up everything nicely. Although it ends on a pretty definite cliffhanger. There is a sequel series, so don't expect this to be, you know, the complete story when you read it. But yeah, so overall, I quite enjoyed the story of Kengan Ashura. Then, of course, you have all of the characters, and holy fucking shit, there's a lot of them. You have 32 unique fighters, all with their own backstory and all with their own abilities. You also have all of their managers, all of the, you know, CEOs. You have Mobama. So let's start with the main man himself, Kazuo. I love this guy. This guy was such like an unexpected main character. I guess like Oma is technically the main character, but you know, you follow this guy throughout the whole thing, and he's just so out of his element. So it's so amusing seeing him with all of these, you know, massive chads. And his development throughout the series is so fantastic. It's just really weird to see like such an old character, you know, where most of his life has already come and gone, and he's kind of in the dumps when this series starts, but you know, watching the Kengan matches, it kind of reinvigorates him, gives him more meaning. Really, really great character who I loved seeing throughout the whole thing. Then you have Tokita Oma, who, I'm gonna be honest, isn't one of my favorite characters ever. He's perfectly fine. I mean, his character is shrouded in mystery, where we get little bits and pieces of his backstory throughout the whole thing. But I never really saw him as a super engaging person. When we eventually like do learn his backstory, I was a bit underwhelmed by it. I was like, oh, this is it. His ability is that he can, you know, like speed up his heart rate, which, you know, like makes him go crazy, and he starts to like lose function in his brain and starts to like get confused and forget shit. And that was cool. But again, like compared to some of these other fighters, I really didn't care about him as much. He was still a cool character, was entertaining to watch a story play out, but the ones who really shine are the other fighters, the side characters like Muteba, Kuroki, Adam fucking Dudley, Imai Cosmo, Wakatsuki. Just saying these names give me fucking chills. These are the Chads of Kengan Ashura, and you will remember their names. Not every side character, not every fighter is that interesting. I mean, there are some that I've completely forgotten already, but the ones that are good are so goddamn good and interesting. Their backstories are great, their personalities are awesome, and some of them are fucking insane. These people are nuts. Where this is an illegal tournament, you know, there are a lot of people in this match who are straight up criminals. They they got fucking serial killers in here. And once you learn about all these characters and, you know, when we see them fight against each other, some of them hate each other's guts, some of them are actually friends. When you're invested in these characters, it makes the fight so much more interesting and so much more enjoyable. And even when a character you like might get kicked out of the tournament, that does not mean they are gone from the story. There are very clever ways that they are continuously weaved into it. And it's not just the fighters too, you know, there's a lot of side characters, the announcers, you know, some of the business people. Kazuo's family plays a pretty big role in the story that was really nice to see. And yeah, overall, while I would have liked more from our actual main character, it is a pretty solid cast. So the art in Kengan Ashura is it's orgasmic. Like I don't know what else to say. Doramion, I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but he must get so much fucking I don't know how the fuck he does it. This was a fucking weekly series. Are you shitting me? I don't give a fuck if he had 10 assistants. This shit is wild as what the fuck. There was a point in this series when I knew it was on another level in terms of art. I was reading a fight and I was like, yeah, this is cool. I turned the page and I'm like, oh my, holy fucking shit. Almost every fight in this tournament is exhilarating and it's fun because of the way Sandrovich writes it, but the way Doromian draws it, oh, it adds so much to these fights. Every single punch has so much fucking impact. The angles are amazing and creative. The characters look absolutely ridiculous. Some of them are so massive, it doesn't even make sense. Their muscles are all bulging out. They have necks the size of elephants. It's so brutal, so intense. It's just fucking awesome. And it keeps getting better as the series goes on. Like, it's unbelievable how great it is. I get the style won't be for everyone, because, you know, some of these characters do look kind of nasty. We see one character as a baby at one point. It's like, dude, what the fuck? That's fucking disgusting. But yeah, the art is super, super well done here. With how much of this series is just straight up fighting, I don't think the series would be nearly as good without it. Sandrovich is actually a martial artist, and they would like go watch actual, you know, wrestling matches and stuff. They would study it, and Sandrovich would, you know, like help him figure out positions and stuff to draw. Really, really cool stuff. It shows that they cared a whole lot about this manga and making it, you know, feel really realistic and gritty, despite how, you know, insane it can be at times. And yeah, it was just a real treat to look at. So those are my thoughts on Kengan Ashura. A really, really solid manga. Story definitely didn't blow me away at all. There were a few, you know, forgettable moments, forgettable characters, but I definitely recommend the series, and I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, if you want to read Kengan Ashura, the unfortunate truth is that there is no official English release. So unless you speak Japanese, you're kinda shit out of luck and on your own. 27 volumes out, so, you know, figure it out. Of course, I mentioned there's a sequel series, that being Kengan Omega, that has been running since Kengan Ashura ended. It's still ongoing. I do plan to check it out because I quite like this series, so I want to see what's on the go in the sequel. There's an anime that Netflix produced. I haven't seen it, but it does look kind of suspicious with all the CGI shit they put into it. But who knows, maybe it's good. You guys can let me know. For alternate recommendations, I would recommend The Record of Ragnarok. This is another absolutely insane tournament series. And in my opinion, the fights here are even, you know, more insane, more exhilarating than Kengan Ashura. So if you're a fan of this series, it's definitely one I would check out. And there you go. Are you fucking happy, Base Senpai? I liked your stupid series. Okay, no, go read Hunter x Hunter. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next full series review, which I don't have planned yet because we got to do another top video. Oh god, it's gonna be so much work. Ugh. Mom and Dad, I'm doing fine. You guys are on